Welcome back to the channel, guys. Thanks for tuning in. This is my 2008 Saab 9.3 TurboX, and we have been rehabbing / rebuilding this vehicle since I purchased it off of Coparts. So today we're going to go ahead and continue to sand down and prepare this rear quarter panel for paint. This beautiful rust spot right here on the fender. So we're going to go ahead and start to clean this up as well and start to prepare and finalize this side with rust restoration. Guys, before I jump in, a lot of things have been changing on my channel over the last couple months. Since I started this project, a lot of you have been reaching out more and more, which has been amazing. I love all of it. Last week, at the last episode, I promoted my apparel. I know a lot of channels out there use Patreon to promote their channel and help raise funds. In this situation, I personally designed these shirts. I'm a big fan of Patreon, but I don't use it. I'd rather, like, you know, design something cool. So if you guys want to support me in any way, I know a couple people last week in the last episode purchased a couple things, so thank you for doing that. I also, something new happened, had another Saab guy local to me drop off this kind gift. So if you're watching this video, Lou, thanks for joining and dropping this off. This is from the gentleman's original Saab 9000 from the early 90s, mid-90s. And it came with, he dropped this off. It was a really nice gesture. And it has all of the Saab warranties. This is from 1988, Saab 9000. Pretty cool stuff here, some good history. Looking at this owner's manual compared to today's owner's manual, it's quite interesting the amount of information they actually provided in this compared to the ones that they provide today. Go see the service department at your local dealership. Here it's like, do XYZ, check this, check that. Kind of cool. So thank you guys for the support in the Saab community. All right, guys, let's do some sanding. I think I'm gonna use hand sander. So I'm gonna take the hand sander now and just do it by hand. This obviously is just, this here is fiberglass without any body filler, so that was to get the structure back into place. And now that it's pretty much back into place, we're gonna hand sand this and make it nice. A lot of work, boys. But here's what I had done. I shaved down most of what I had put on body filler over here. Same with over here on this side. As you guys saw previously, in this episode over here, there was some fiberglassing going on. There was a big hole. If you're new to the channel, there was a big hole right here in the panel, all rusted out. So we put a patch in there and some fiberglass for some strength, and we now fixed that. So now the next thing I'm doing, since some of the framing of the panel was obviously destroyed from the rust, is I cut this cardboard out, as you saw in the video, based on the other side's arch. And what I have done just now is I sanded off some of the edges that were hanging too low and out of place. So now what we're going to do with fiberglass before I move forward is we're going to re-fiberglass. There's some areas here that aren't low enough, okay, and we're going to put some fiberglass in there. I may even put a patch or two on the inside here for some more strength, and then let that dry. So when the car is dry, we have a proper line that we can sand out, make it nice and smooth here, put some body filler in there, make it nice, rebuild, restructure, and then go ahead and primer paint. So that's what that was all about. Stop talking and get to it. Alright guys, so as you saw, I used my hand there to like coerce and maneuver the fiberglass in a rounding position with a thick coat under there to give it the width that it needs for the structure to match the rest of the frame here. So now that we did this, I'm going to go ahead and put the wheel back on, and I'm going to go and start to clean this undercarriage here where the side skirt was. Obviously there was some surface rust. So I'm going to take a wire brush everything, all the loose debris, and then it doesn't look like any of the metal is actually rusted through. So get all the surface stuff off and then respray that with protectant so it doesn't continue to rust. Let's do it, boys. Guys, if you haven't watched last episode, if you haven't watched the last series, check out all of this dirt. Check out all of this dirt that came off when I pulled the side skirt. In one of the upcoming episodes, we'll pull the other side skirt down and clean that out because I'm sure there'll be rust. But in the meantime, let's get to this side. Alright guys, now that we did that, I'm going to use this one-step rust converter. It converts all the rust to solid black in one coating. As you saw, I got all the loose debris, loose paint, everything off of there. Everything, as you see, is structurally sound. All of our tabs are still in place. No severe damage here at all. We are lucky. This car still has good bones. For everybody that's watching on camera, worried. So I'll link this below. All the products that I'm using today are linked below. So if you guys want to use any of this stuff for your own personal projects, you can go ahead and purchase them. So I shook this up. All right, so while that's drying there for the first coat, I'm gonna go ahead and start to clean, since I have the hose out, the side skirt. As you can see, that thing got pretty muddied up from all the rust, or excuse me, all this dirt and gravel and sand that was sitting in there, so we're gonna clean that up. Hey, if you're watching still, no panel will go untouched on this car. You saw how much dirt just came off of that wheel well thing. We're gonna go through all the wheel wells, and we're gonna go through all of the panels, and we're gonna make sure that there is no 5 pounds of dirt sitting behind a panel. So let's go check out that coating underneath the car. Put our second coat on. All right, guys, a lot of this has already turned black, which is cool. So we're gonna go again. Alright guys, next day here, and in this portion of the video we're going to disassemble the front clip, and most of you are going to ask me why I want to do that, but here's the reason. I want to also inspect everything behind this front bumper to make sure everything's good. I also want to take off the front headlights and restore these, because as you can see, these are very foggy. So the only way to take them off is to remove the front bumper. And then I'm also going to remove the front fenders because they do have some rust on the lower part of the panel, and I don't want to necessarily touch the door paint when I'm sanding. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove them, do it the right way. It's not a big deal, so let's knock it out. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to start from the top and work my way down, and I'm going to remove these plastic little clips and then these little screws. Next thing I'm going to do is all of the lower screws, starting in the wheel well. Alright guys, I'm having one hiccup with removing the harness to get the bumper completely out of the way. But for the time being, I'm going to take a break from there, because obviously when you run into these issues, take a break and come back to it, because then when you do, problem seems to go away. So I'm gonna go ahead now and move towards the I'm gonna go ahead now and remove this actual fender out of place. Alright guys, we finally have this panel off. As you can see, there's some nice rust here, but I wanted to get behind it to make sure that there was no rust. Which was the main reason why I took this apart. And obviously there is some surface rust, so we're gonna go ahead and address it. In the meantime, this is what it looks like underneath. We are going to clean all of the dirt and debris behind there. I said that earlier in this video, so we're gonna continue to follow that trend. So I still need to remove that harness to get the bumper out of the way, but it will happen. Alright guys, I'm going to take a break, let this all dry, so stay tuned. Well, remember when I said earlier in the video when you walk away and you give something a second, you come back and you figure it out? Well, that's what we've done here. We figured it out. We detached that harness finally. I did some more disassembly. As you can see, I got the lower tray right there. And now that we have this thing all taken apart, I'm going through the entire car. We're cleaning it because this car obviously lived on a dirt road, as many of you know if you've been following the build. And so I wanted to go ahead and continue to go behind everything and clean it all up, get the leaves and all the debris. You can see this was all of the dirt that built up in between the bumper and the fender. Again, over here between the bumper and underneath the headlight. So we're gonna just go ahead and soak this, agitate it with a little bit of a brush, and get it all cleaned up. The other thing I wanted you guys to know is all those screws that hold the bumper fasteners together, I put in a bag here, and I also sprayed it with the rust converter. Because what we're gonna do, besides for reforming all of the rust on the panels, is we're gonna reform the rust that are holding those bolts and the car together, because we don't want them all rusting through. As you can see, the top of the car is actually in good shape. You know, this stuff here is exposed metal. And it's not rusted out, which is good. The engine bay is clean, as you can see. So, you know, the rust is there. It is a big deal. However, it is in very limited areas, and we're just gonna address it like we are. All right, guys, we are in the garage, and you can see the rust converter here really made this nice. And this is so smooth from the way I sanded it, you can't even tell. So I don't even need body filler on this because the rust didn't eat away the metal at all. So I'm gonna go ahead now and take soap and water. I got a clean soap and water here. I'm gonna soap and wash this fender real quick with some soap and water, and then we're gonna dry it because I'm going to actually prep this for primer and then paint. So obviously we got the rust stuff on there. It's not gonna rust anymore. And now I'm gonna go ahead and get the primer going. So let's do it. Oh guys, this came out really nice, very smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and do some wet sanding from here down because I will be painting. I'm gonna paint this before I paint the main quarter panel here, the rear panel. I'll paint this and possibly the other fender to see how it comes out in the garage here. Obviously, I want the paint to match and blend and look good before this rear quarter panel behind me gets done. So this will be our test. So smooth, guys. You can never even tell that there was any damage here, which is good. And I gave myself a couple inches up. I might even start to sand more before I paint. Sweet! Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to leave it here. We are going to finalize this quarter panel in the next episode with primer. We are going to finalize and paint the fender here, and then of rinse and repeat on the other side, doing the same exact thing, but the rust on the other side of this vehicle is nowhere near as bad as the driver's side, thankfully, so it should be a cruise. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, drop a comment, follow me at Kyle Pancis on Instagram if you guys have any questions, you want to reach out to me. Check out the link, Teespring below. I put together a apparel line again. I know I mentioned it earlier in the video, but check it out. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to help me out there if you can. See you next time.